was sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up.
Welcome to You Gotta Laugh to Keep From Crying. My name is O.W. Sweeney, and I'm here with my brother, and I'm here with my guest, who is my brother. And most important, I'm here with my brother. And second, and most important, I'm glad to be here with my brother.
All right.
And by the way, his name is Richard Courts, but he's still my brother, which is the most important part.
Okay, I think our viewers probably got that message by now.
Oh.
But we want to make sure they understand that that feeling is mutual.
Yes, well,
I
we
am
understand.
so pleased to be here with my brother, my comrade, my friend, and my fellow co-host.
Oh, yes.
Oliver
That's good.
Sweeney.
But the reason I like to say that is because you're white and I'm black, but we got the same mindset of where things should be and how things works and how people are putting us down. And to use the words of Michael Jackson, it don't matter if you're black or white as long as they got you under their thumbs. For instance, now I want to bring up the fact of the.
Wait a minute. We haven't said we're sponsored.
You got me. You got me.
After all these years, I got
me. Yes.
We're being sponsored by
the North Carolina Triad Jobs with Justice, where you can reach us at 336-272-2758. Oh,
I
congratulations.
can't believe it. Thank you. All these years I've been waiting for that one chance to remind you, because you're always reminding me.
Yes.
We got to put our sponsors in there. And we're proud to be sponsored by North Carolina Triad
for Justice. That's right, because I was getting ready to bring up Caroline Kennedy and some of the things she was going to do to us workers here in the United States of America.
Would you mind if, before you bring that up, we mentioned that on May Day, or actually on Sunday, May 3rd, we want to invite our viewers to come out to Barber Park,
Shelter 6.
Thank you.
From 2 to 4.
From 2 to 4 p.m. And we're going to have hot dogs and other things and probably a few speakers. And if I'm one of the speakers, I'll try to keep it brief.
Well, look here. I hope you're not one of the speakers. That might be the 2 hours right there.
True. But we do want to invite you, our viewers, to come out to Barber Park, Sunday, May 3rd, Shelter 6. And we will be speaking about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, and warning the 99% of us that this TPP is really coming. And hopefully we're going to have Congresswoman Alma Adams, one of our favorite guests and congresspeople, as a speaker out there, if she can make it back from Livingstone College.
Okay.
We'll hope to see everybody out there.
Yes.
But go ahead, brother. You wanted to talk about Caroline Kennedy?
Yeah. Well, they was talking about how Barack Obama had made her the ambassador to Japan.
Big job. Very important.
And they was talking about how she was over there dealing with a trade agreement.
We know.
And
wait a minute.
They didn't say what it was.
Can I guess the initials?
No. I don't want you to guess the initial now because they did not bring up.
T.
They did not bring up what it was.
What did you get?
But I knew what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And we want to educate our people.
That's right. Yeah, this was
the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
It ain't our partnership.
No.
It's a partnership of the 1/10 of 1% of the world against us.
That Trans-Pacific Partnership is to put the working people in another bind.
Yes, exactly.
And the major thing is that they want to fast track it. I think you sent me an email on a fast track about that.
Yeah, and to me the most interesting part of that right now, because the most important thing about it is we got to try to stop fast track authority being given. The interesting thing about it, though, to me, is that the very people that are supposedly out to break Barack Obama, namely the Republican leadership of McConnell and Boehner and Ryan and those kind of people, Ryan that ran with Mitt Romney the last time, the vice president, the main Republican leaders in Congress, they're out to give Barack Obama fast-track authority, because they're both representing the 1/10 of 1%.
Now, I want to ask you a question. What do that tell you?
That tells you that there is one
That
class
bill
that's
is
represented
no
by both
good
parties.
for the people.
Absolutely.
If they're going to come up, the man they've been fighting for the last
6 years, 6.5 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
in every way to knock him down. Now all of a sudden they're going to give him something. Why are they giving it to him?
Right.
And you know if they're going to give it to him, it's no good for the people.
Right. Well, anytime the Democratic Party and the Republican Party unite on something, it's no good for the people.
Well,
Absolutely.
They say politics produce strange bedfellows.
Well, all of them are
Yes.
strange. But the most strange thing is, how can we keep electing people? I guess because we don't have any other major parties to vote for. That's the problem. But let's get back to Caroline Kennedy, daughter of the late John F. Kennedy, President of the United States, who was beloved by many, both in the labor movement and the black community and other communities. There was all kinds of things about how great.
A sly fox. A sly
Oh,
fox.
yes, he was.
Because I
Tell our
often wonder,
viewers about that.
I often wondered now, if you listen to that speech when he
His
says,
inauguration.
ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Right.
And you think about what was going on at that time. A time when blacks who was oppressed in the United States of America was asking to be equal and to have their human rights, to stand up to
And have justice.
and be equal with any other citizen who was paying taxes.
People
in this
who built
country.
the country.
That's right.
And they wanted what was theirs.
Yes.
That was justice. And wait a minute, don't forget that it was right before that 4 heroic young freshmen at A&T had marched downtown Greensboro and sat in at that Woolworth lunch counter. That's what was going on in that period. And it was in that situation that I was going to call him your hero, but I'm not going to do that to you because you're the one that pointed this out, and you're absolutely right.
But
That he said, don't ask what the country
can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Right.
Mind you,
But those 4
those-
A&T freshmen had said,
Yeah.
"No, what's this country going to do for us? We're sick of being second-class citizens."
That's right. And you got to read less than 20 years. They was fighting the Germans, and the German prison can come over here and in the South can go into any restaurant they wanted to, but those black soldiers who went over there to fought the German couldn't do the same thing. And he would make a statement like that. And my question is now,
Yeah.
was he a racist?
Is that a question or is that a rhetorical question?
This is a question.
That's what we call that.
I mean, you have to.
Wait a
I
minute.
mean, because
Not
now
on this
also-
show.
also-
I'm going to expose you.
No,
'cause
also-
You're
also-
actually pulling a rhetorical question because you know the answer to that.
Also,
Yeah.
I recently was watching a news show
Yeah.
that had Frank Sinatra's daughter on there,
Okay.
and they said they didn't want to let Frank Sinatra come to Kennedy inaugural because he was friends with Sammy Davis Jr.
Was it because he was Afro-American or Jewish?
6 1 half dozen the other.
Yeah.
So
And-
my
and-
question is now, I mean, all the light that people have put this man up, and now he coming out to be a racist.
But you know something, O.W., when you look at the March on Washington in 1963, what's come out at the 50th anniversary in 2013, it came out even clearer that Kennedy had troops in North Carolina all set up, ready to leap into Washington, D.C.
On a peaceful protest.
On a peaceful protest. If there was anything that broke out, not only that, but that John F. Kennedy had engineered the situation in Washington such that none of the people coming in could stay overnight in Washington, D.C.
And not only that, which was a grassroots movement,
Right.
allowed not the people from the grassroots, those angry citizens, to speak, to fire the crowd up,
Right.
but they put someone of a more mild tone to get up there and speak.
Not only that, but John Lewis, the only living speaker from that day, who represented the great young youth organization, SNCC, at that occasion, he had his speech forcibly changed on him by those moderate forces you're talking about. They toned his speech down right then and there, because he was not going to be so forgiving and so toothless in his speech.
Well, so in other words, it seemed like it put us in a position as far as blacks are concerned, rather than to stay on our course for equality, but to negotiate integration, which have never worked.
Yeah, but I think, even though, as usual, I think you're 100% correct, we have other fish to fry on this show
Yes,
tonight. That's a different show, I think.
Yes.
Because this TPP, and to you and me, the fact that Caroline Kennedy has become a front person as the ambassador to Japan, which is one of the other leading industrial and imperialist powers in the world, and the other one that's currently signed up for the Trans-Pacific Partnership with the USA. The fact that Obama made her the ambassador to Japan, that was no accident. The fact that the ambassador to Japan, who is JFK's daughter, is now fronting for the Trans-Pacific Partnership is no accident either.
Fronting to screw the citizens.
Right.
99%.
And the other thing about it that I think is significant is she was on 60 Minutes the other night, and as you said, she described the trade pact without ever saying the name of it. But she did try to link it to a national security idea about Japan and the United States uniting in every way, militarily, economically, and so on, against China. So the way they're going to, what I've been trying to figure out is, how can they sell such a dictatorial, an absolute corporate tyranny plan called the Trans-Pacific Partnership to the people in the United States? How can they sell fast-track authority, even though the Republican leadership was trying to give Obama fast-track authority, unless they use something like national security or a state of emergency? So I think having heard Caroline Kennedy on 60 Minutes last night, I heard how I think they're going to do it, which is it's all about defending our national security
Interest
from China, and economically, politically, and so on and so forth. Because that's what Caroline Kennedy laid out there.
Which you know have to be a bunch of crap, because every time you look at something it says made in China. So if you're trying to cut China's throat, why are you doing so much trade with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why are you getting so much merchandise from over there? And the people who sit around and they buy this here, just like they did the Iraq War. Now everything's coming out that everything was a lie.
Oh, in the Iraq War.
In the Iraq War.
Right.
But even though the smart people was out there saying it really was a weapon of mass destruction in Iraq, but it was only a 3-letter word, OIL.
OIL.
See?
Yeah.
And people really haven't picked up on the fact that that's what got Saddam Hussein destroyed. Now they crying the blues after they got Saddam Hussein and then killed him and put him in the ground. Now somebody else done propped up, taking his place. But they ain't so friendly towards the United States of America.
Right. Or at least toward the U.S. oil interests, which is what it's all about.
What part about that is not the United States of America?
Well, because we're part of the United States of America.
We're part of the United States of America.
But we don't.
How much you think they care about you and I?
Yeah. Well, who's they? You mean the people that speak for the United States of America?
No, the people who oppose the United States of America coming into their world, telling them how to live.
Well, they're more concerned about us than the people who run the United States of America are. But they're mostly concerned about trying to save their country from the United States ruling class.
That's right.
Yeah. So I don't know if we talked enough about Caroline Kennedy and her dad.
I think the people might have a little enlightening on that.
Yeah.
But,
and also they can come out to the Barber Park.
Yes.
On Sunday, May 3rd for the Jobs with Justice.
It's Shelter 6, 2 to 4.
Right, 2 to 4 for the May Day celebration.
Right.
And hopefully Congresswoman Alma Adams will be speaking about the TPP.
Yes.
Along with a few other speakers, and especially about how to stop fast-track authority going to the
you like to talk about stopping fast track. I want to talk about stopping it all together.
I think if
just trash that whole bill.
I agree, but I think if we stop I think the only way they're gonna be able to pass it is if they have fast track authority and a state of emergency or a national security emergency or whatever they call it.
The American people can't buy that bull.
I hope not, but, 6 beheadings or so, and something called ISIS appeared, and the people of the United States went from being opposed to going into Syria to being in favor of going.
Well, I think it's easy to stop those beheadings.
Yeah.
You stop going over trying to tell the people how to run their life.
Okay.
Because the United States of America go over there trying to tell them how to run their country, they're trying to come over here any way they can so they can tell the United States how to run theirs.
Okay. So
who's right and who's wrong?
Who's right are the people that want every people in the world to have the right to self-determination. Those are who right.
That's correct.
And those that are who wrong are the ones who want to deny people
They're right.
in any country in the world their right to self-determination.
Well, there's a lot of cutting people right here in this here country off of lack of self-determination. For instance, when you're running from the police and you get shot in the back.
You're talking about North Charleston, South Carolina,
North
the last week or so.
That's
just the latest that we know about incident. And if a nice person, he sounded like he was from maybe the Middle East, actually, the person that took the film on his camera and presented it to the family at the funeral, I believe. I think that's correct.
I don't know what he presented it to him.
I think he said, "You may want this," and it showed the officer, if you want to call him, or the killer cop, shooting Mr. Scott in the back shooting him 8 times as he's running away.
Yes.
Now we know what happened to the brother in Ferguson, Missouri, don't we?
Yeah, it's pretty damn clear.
Yes,
yes.
And there's nothing would have been done to this cop. In fact, he probably would have got a promotion or a raise or a star,
right,
or something like that, for having killed that black man, who was a 50-year-old black man, whose crime was, allegedly, he had a tail light that was broken.
Tail light that broken. I think they say he was behind his child support and stuff like this here.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't tell that from stopping him.
No, you couldn't tell that, but
no, they could tell about a broken tail light.
I think it borders on the fact that this equality thing I've been talking about, that it never had happened when we accepted integration rather than equality.
Right.
Because I think a whole lot of police, and I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of black people, and a lot of them say the only reason the officers shoot black men is because they're afraid of them. I mean, this is what they're saying, because their mindset is because they've been bombarded that all black men are thugs, are criminals. They didn't decriminalize it.
Well,
blacks.
Yeah.
Just to look at a black person, they seem to is a criminal type thing.
Well, I got 2 responses to that. One is that the history of the United States, since the black people achieved emancipation in 1865 by armed struggle against a foe who had committed treachery to the United States government, a foe called the Confederate States of America that represented slavery, human slavery. And since that evil empire was defeated by the Union Army, which included a hell of a lot of black people in it, who performed heroically in that struggle.
But a lot of people don't know they had some blacks fought on.
Well, I just said it. There were a hell of a lot of them, and they performed more heroically than any other.
A lot of blacks fought for the South.
No, that's not true.
Some blacks fought for the South.
And most of them were in a position where they couldn't argue.
All right then.
Okay.
No, but you got to realize, I got a few books that said in Charleston they had a whole lot of because the demographic of the Charleston, South Carolina, the people there, they had free blacks there as well who owned slaves.
Well, but that was very few, O.W. That really.
I understand that was very few.
It does tell you that it's not about color.
I want people to understand the full history of this country.
True. True.
All right?
But the main
And-
history
and-
of it was white oppression of black slaves.
And that
Yeah.
still's going on.
Yeah. But now there are some black people who are in positions of authority.
Are they?
They have no authority, but they have the authority
Are
over.
they?
They're front men and women.
Or they, or what,
For
what
the
they,
system.
or what they would call a figurehead?
Well, you could call it a figurehead, or you could call it an Uncle Tom, I suppose.
No, I don't want to go to Uncle Tom because
I understand Uncle Tom as a figure, literary figure.
Well, Uncle Tom wasn't Uncle Tom in all that way that it is. So a lot of people need to read that book. But what I'm saying is they're in a position of authority.
But they have
do
no
nothing.
power, though.
Right.
But they have no power.
That's why I say a figurehead.
Yeah, right.
All right.
And that's the reason, that's the real reason. When I said there were two things, one is that particularly black men, since the emancipation.
The question of emancipation.
No, since the actual emancipation, then the
The
law.
chains are off.
The chains are off, but then
the
there was.
slavery is still here.
Right, and the main vehicle for it was the criminalization of black people, particularly black men. So it's not a surprise that there would be the idea that black men are thugs would be in the system that's been largely based on black labor that was slave labor after the Civil War
Yeah,
up till now.
but
Wait a minute, but that's only the first point. The second point is that black people don't have power in the United States, and that's why police can kill them. And that's part of the reason why the police are killing them, is to make sure that black people don't get power in the United States.
So you trying to say that the police are terrorists?
Okay? I mean, I'll
I
say
mean,
I'll say that the police are a terrorist force in many places.
When you put in this here idea that people that you have to stay in your place,
Absolutely.
that's terrorism to me.
Right. When I spoke here in Greensboro after the murder of Trayvon Martin, who was so clearly innocent, and then the letting off of George Zimmerman, who was so clearly guilty, I said that Trayvon Martin was guilty of walking on the territory that his ancestors had built here in the United States. That was what he was guilty of. You know, but they didn't have the control. They didn't have the self-determination over that territory, and that's why he could be killed like that.
A lot of people say he was guilty of being black.
Well, that's the essence of it. It was black people that built that territory, along with some Native Americans. Yeah. So, right. But anyway, I did want to, speaking of black people, I did want to mention that there was a letter to the editor of the News and Record that dealt with the apparently recent death of former Greensboro superintendent, Kenneth Newbold, Greensboro Public School Superintendent, Kenneth Newbold. And I happen to have had extensive experience as one of many concerned parents, black and white, in the early 80s, in fighting to keep especially elementary schools open. And Newbold, people might be surprised to find out, was determined to close as many public schools as he could. And this is as black students were coming into the majority of the student population at that time. I mean, I don't think Newbold wanted poor whites to have a decent education either, but it was mainly aimed at black people. And he had such control over the school board that and people like Alma Adams, and that's where Alma Adams and I were two of the people that I'm going to put myself in there with Alma, even though Alma was, I think, the most articulate spokesperson that we had. She was terrific, and that's where she actually came into political activity in this town, around defending the children, because she had a couple of young kids too in the public schools. So, but this letter from some former employee, a kiss ass, I would have to say, it sounds like, because it had nothing to, what he described about Newbold was nothing like what I saw. He was some kind of administrator in the school system under Newbold. But Newbold was really an enemy, in my opinion, of public education. And so So I tried to write a letter to the editor of the News and Record that, and they hopefully will print a tooth, with much of the tooth or truth taken out of it. They may print it. But so I want to share with our viewers the fact that years later, during the many years I served on the Greensboro Human Relations Commission, I was having a talk with John Shaw, who was the head of the Human Relations Department for a number of years, in which he said, matter-of-factly, that he had driven Newbold out of the military. Shaw had been the head of the EEOC for the entire U.S. military.
Okay.
At the same time as Clarence Thomas was the head of the EEOC for the civilian sector. And in that capacity, Shaw told me, he had driven out Newbold for his white supremacist conduct in the military. So I said, well, how could you have let him come into this city with such a high black student population? And John Shaw reminded me that Shaw came in right after Newbold left. I did not remember that. So so then I had to accept his answer. But it wasn't a surprise then to me at all that the same Newbold was so strong about getting rid of public schools, which he was in charge of, that black students could go to. Wait a minute. And he also, and I've always had the
isn't that a Republican cry, get rid of public schools?
I don't know. I don't know if he was a Republican or a Democrat. You know, there have been a whole lot of Dixiecrats too.
Yeah.
You know, and the Democrats ran this state for many, many years before the Republicans tried to outdo them, out-Democrats the Democrats.
Okay, yeah. That's what you want to say, but I still say Lester Maddox and George Wallace were Democrats.
Yeah, they were.
So was John F. Kennedy.
And that's not a surprise either. As always, my brother,
so
it's been a pleasure.
My question is that...
my question is, we got a lot to keep from crying, don't we? Sometimes.
And we're brought to you by
North Carolina
Triad Jobs with Justice. Well, we can be reached at 336-272-2758. It's been good talking to you,
And
my brother.
good talking to you, my brother. And let's hope that people join us on Sunday, May 3rd at Barbara Park.
Shelter 6, 2 to 4
p.m.
That's right.
You're all welcome.
As the saying say, be there, be square.
And as we say, in our unity,
We got nothing to lose but our chains. Nothing to lose but our chains. We got nothing to lose but our chains. And a world to win. Nothing to lose but our chains. And a world to win.